Barry Bowles is a fantastic franchisee. He has the honor of being with us for over 20 years now. Yes, he came on to ERA even before we were in the United States. Everybody loves Barry. He has built this business and built it very, very wisely. He's got a strong exit strategy that I love to hear him talk about. So, Barry, can you share with us today what attracted you to ERA 20 plus years ago, and then talk about today's ERA and what you see today, and anything else you feel would be of value to the candidates on the call today?
Yes, I'd be very happy to, Red. One of the things that attracted me to this business was the flexibility. I'd worked for corporate Australia actually for many years, nearly 30 years, and you were always aware that you were working for somebody else. You know, if you work really hard, you might get a salary increase, you might get a promotion, but someone else was always pulling those strings. And I had a yearning to be my own boss, and when the opportunity came up, I grabbed it. I was about 45 when I joined ERA, and this has been a great ride. And comparing it to from then to now, the big thing that I would say is that it really hasn't changed. I mean, the world has changed around us over the last 20 plus years. Things are different everywhere, but the basic concept that I bought into is still the same, still works the same. All the things that people are going to learn in training were the same kinds of things we were learning 20 years ago. So it's a really solid business model.
Barry, thank you so much. And if you could hang on, we have some questions to add for you at the end here in just a few short minutes. Thank you, though, for sharing. John Lauchnor, you may have heard John a few months ago. He was terrific support and help, and I love his testimony of how he has succeeded in ERA. So I've asked John to join us on the call and give a little bit of insights on what attracted him to ERA and really what he's found since coming on board, and any other advice that you might have, John.
Sure. Can you hear me, Rad?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Great. So I, prior to joining ERA, I had over 20 years of experience running manufacturing companies as CEO of either public or private companies. And so for me, I was a corporate person. I knew how to fix a company, move a company, close a company, but I had no idea how to start my own consulting firm. And so what attracted me to ERA was the fact that, yes, I did, as Barry said, want to be responsible for my own organization, but I still wanted to be part of something that was corporate, that could feel corporate if I wanted it to, or I could tap into a structure if I wanted to. And so what attracted me to ERA is it kind of gave me a balance of both the opportunity to start my own business, but also to tap into an existing structure and an existing network of successful people.
Fantastic, John. Any advice you would provide to candidates considering the ERA model?
You know, the nice thing for me was that the model works. You know, it didn't take very long for me to realize that if I invested the time and the effort in making this thing happen, that I would be able to see the returns. And you know, I mean, like anything, sometimes you go in with a certain amount of skepticism, but I'll tell you, after having a few quick successes and seeing the way that certain CEOs and CFOs respond to our business model, you know, when you hear people say, gee, it sounds like there's little risk for us, and you start to see some cash flow hitting their bottom line, it doesn't take long, at least it didn't take long for me to be a strong believer.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Hey, guys, if you have any questions for John or for Barry or for myself, please feel free to type them over on the side of your screen and they'll come to us. We're also joined today and honored to have Dave Thorpe. Dave Thorpe has been a top producing franchisee in the client acquisition space for some time now. And in fact, I have two screens on Dave because he had a bio a little longer than some. So thank you so much, Dave. You travel, you're the busiest franchisee out there. Thank you for your time today.
Sure, Red. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Great. Hey, thanks. So the good thing about going third is I get to say what Barry said and what John said are both true. My background is about 30 years of sales and business development, both in management and as an individual contributor for a couple of Fortune 250 companies as well as a technology startup before joining ERA. And what Barry indicated, and John both, the three of us all have previously corporate experience. We've worked in those environments, and obviously you're not always the master of your own destiny. And after several careers and getting to the point where I was faced with, do I continue to do that in the current new world, if you will, where your experience and your skills aren't always valued necessarily as much as you think that they would be, and where the average tenure of a senior or even mid-level management person is 2 to 3 years. I was interested in exploring more entrepreneurial opportunities that would allow me to leverage that prior experience in a more entrepreneurial fashion, and be the master of my own destiny, if you will. But in a way, to John's comments, where I could do my own thing in terms of build my own business, but do it collaboratively with other people with similar backgrounds and experience, so more of a team environment, but operating as your own business within a team environment. And ERA's business model offers, I think, a very unique opportunity to do that. I did not want to create my own consulting practice and hang out my own shingle and try to build my brand and build my value proposition and all that. The nice thing about ERA is, to Barry's point, is it's been around for 25 years. It's a solid business model. It's been proven time and time again, and that was very attractive to me. So that's what brought me to ERA. Obviously, the flexibility. It's not a part-time business. I think to Red's point earlier, those who do well with the model in the ERA umbrella, they work it very much seriously as a business, and the results for those folks are commensurate with that. So I'll park it there for now, and unless you need me to add anything else, Red.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it so much. If you guys have a few minutes, we've got some questions for you at the end. But before that, Jack Squires has agreed to jump on here too. So thank you for your time, Jack, and for sharing. He has a unique role because Jack has been with us for over a decade and was a franchisee, and now he's a coach and mentor for franchisees. So Jack, can you share with us what attracted you to ERA and any advice you can share as well?
I really have nothing to add since Red took all of my best quotes, but I'll throw something else out there for everyone that's listening to this webinar live or recorded. When you think about this business, it's really a relatively unique opportunity. It certainly was a unique opportunity when I evaluated it 10 years ago, and it certainly still remains unique today. And what really makes it so unique are a couple of driving factors here. First of all, the competitive landscape, which we've touched on. We have a lot of niche competitors if we're looking at doing one or two cost categories for an organization. There are certainly a number of firms out there that focus on single cost categories and specialize in that. But as we add categories to clients that we're doing work for, our competitive landscape fades away to the point where there's simply not another firm that can compete with us at a certain level, which makes this opportunity very unique. Secondly is our value proposition, and Red touched on this as well. Literally, there is no chance for a negative ROI for our clients that engage us. There's really only two possible outcomes. Either one, we save them a significant amount of money and hopefully improve their process along the way, and the only other option is that we provide them a validation that they're doing as well as they could be doing in that particular spend category, and that's completely free of charge. So it makes it the value proposition very attractive for our clients to get involved with, which is one of the key reasons why we're successful and agnostic across the board in all industry verticals. Another really unique aspect of this is currently our lack of market penetration. We have terrific bandwidth right now for our deliverable. We simply don't have enough great people in the field signing more clients. And that opportunity, if you've ever been in business development, is about 180 degrees away from what it typically is. Typically, you're out there and you sell something to a client, and you hope and pray that the organization can deliver what you sold on the timeline you sold it. In ERA, it's absolutely the opposite. We have terrific bandwidth for deliverable and fantastic category specialists ready to deliver our service for these clients. And then finally, the target market, and Rick touched on this as well. Our target market is about as large as you could possibly imagine. Since we work industry agnostically across all industry verticals, with organizations from about, the bare minimum would be about $5 million in annual revenue on up, it makes the target market extreme. So when you combine all four of those factors together, I personally have never seen an organization that had all four of those aspects going for it. So this business is certainly not for everyone, but for those for whom it's a good fit, it is a very good fit. And you've heard from three of the folks prior to me jumping on here who has been a very, very good fit for over the years. So, Red, with that, I'll throw it back to you.
Awesome, Jack. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. So Cameron has a question. Cameron says, what causes failure? Simple and straightforward. Barry, I'll go to you first, if I may. What would cause someone to fail in ERA?
Yes, there are a number of factors. I'll just mention one which I think is probably the primary one over the years. I've worked with a lot of franchisees in ERA, and a lack of focus on the business is probably the number one reason for failure. They get distracted by everything going on around them. You know, if you work from home, if you've never worked from home, mowing the grass can look like a fairly good thing rather than picking up the phone and calling that next prospect, or fixing the car, washing the car, doing a whole lot of things. We talked about flexibility is a big thing. The thing you have to watch out for is that you don't allow the flexibility to stop you from actually running your business. So lack of focus would be my number one.
Thank you. John, what do you think could cause failure?
I think it's related to what Barry said, not investing the time up front to recognize that, yes, you are participating in a network and a system that works, but it's still your startup, and you have to treat it like a startup. You have to invest the time. It's not a part-time thing, as Dave said. So I think if you look at it like that, great. If you don't, I think you're going to be getting the results that you probably expect.
Awesome. Thank you. Dave, anything to add to that?
Sure, Red. I had a similar question as that when I was doing my due diligence. I was looking for, what were the primary reasons why people were not successful. Three things came pretty clear. Barry's mentioned one of them, and John as well, which is it's not a part-time business. People got to their early 50s and they said, hey, I'm ready to retire, but not fully, and I'm going to do this and make it a part-time business. And that was a reason for not being successful.
Thank you, Dave. Jack, if you have any insights on that, and I'll throw one other question out because I know Jack's about out of time, but Stacy's asking about quality of the category specialists. So, and I'll, after Jack's done, anybody else that wants to chime in on your opinion of the quality of the folks that are finding the savings for our clients. Jack?
Yeah, thanks, Red. Just real quickly on reasons for failing, it is very much what the other gentleman touched on, is you have to work the business hard. It is absolutely one of the keys to success. Dabbling in ERA is the surest path to failure in ERA. And really the other is, and Red mentioned this earlier as well, it is not following the model. You're buying into a franchise for a reason. It's been around, it's established globally for 25 years, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel. So follow the coaching, follow the training, and work the business hard. And those are really some of the keys to success with that. On to the next question, the level of category specialists is unbelievable. We have folks that have spent entire careers, typically on the vendor side, in all of these cost categories in which we work. So that's really the value that we bring to our clients, is that we never come in saying we know about your particular industry vertical. We don't, which is one of the reasons we can be industry agnostic. What our specialty is our clients' vendors' business. So we're bringing in category specialists that know the vendor's business just as well as the vendors. So we're immediately leveling that playing field on our clients' behalf with those vendors, so they no longer have the upper hand. So it just makes it tremendous to be able to bring in those kind of resources to a client, which they would never be able to have access to because they simply couldn't staff folks with those salaries.
Guys, any other thoughts on the quality of the category specialists? I know John Lauchnor is one. He's gotten plenty of clients on his own, but he's also our head of the office supply practice, I believe. Dave, any thoughts on John's quality, or not just John, but I mean the category specialist David, as a client acquirer, really focused on client acquisition. His work would be useless if we didn't have world-class experts finding every penny for the client and for themselves. Dave, what's your experience been?
My experience, frankly, it was one of the things that attracted me to ERA was the quality and depth of expertise that we offer clients. I speak to it in every new client meeting when we sit down and we talk about what we might be able to do to help them. The fact that we have such a breadth and depth of expertise that we're able to customize our engagement specific to each client, that's very powerful. It certainly is one of the key differentiators for us in terms of competitive advantage. There isn't anybody else in the mid-market that brings that breadth and depth of expertise. John Lauchnor is certainly included in that. John and I have worked together since day one for 6 years, and the quality that we have, it's just a terrific asset. And frankly, besides the model that ERA offers, the intellectual property value of our business is that expertise. So it's a great question, and you should feel very confident in the amount, what you'll be representing to your clients when you're with ERA.
Hey, Red, this is John again. Since my other answer was so brief, one thing that you haven't really touched on yet is, yes, the quality of the analyst is excellent, but it's not just in doing the analysis. When I have a healthcare prospect, I bring a PhD of medical supplies, and she goes along with the meeting, or along to the meeting with me. So, I mean, I view our analysts not just as people that are sitting in their own office crunching numbers. I find our analysts are as valuable on helping sell to prospects and communicate to prospects far better than I could when things get into specifics.
Good point on that. And the analyst, I was most surprised at how many crazy, cool, interesting ways they find the money. They find the savings. They find the value. I had in my little head that they're just great negotiators, and we've got to influence on the suppliers or maybe strategic relationships. All those are very true, but just the other processes and accountabilities and know-how that the procurement teams, the Red Boswells of the world that don't have the world-class expertise, would never think to review or to look at or even understand. So it's neat. One day I'm going to write a book of all the cool ways we find, all the stories I've heard of how you guys are finding savings. So thank you, John. Thank you, everybody on the call.